Alright guys, here we are on Conqueror and Commander, checking out my Rosheen Meanderer deck. For the complete deck list, go to puremtgo.com and you will see the deck list printed out nice and neat with everything you need to make up the list and put it together if you want. Rosheen is a giant shaman, whatever, who adds 4 mana to any X spell, essentially. And she's also a 4/4/4/4 mana, so that means that you're going to want to look at a lot of X spells. Or activation costs that include X. Let me tell you, guys, that this deck, I worked my ass off on this deck. My initial version had a lot more X stuff in it, and there was a bunch of holes that was going on with it. So after a game or two, I started trying to fill in the holes, and then I got away from the theme, and then the deck started sucking, and I had to kind of like trash everything and restart from scratch. And this deck ended up having more of a lands matter theme plus a landfall theme. I cut back on a bunch of the X stuff because a lot of times when you have all these X spells, you're going to want to tap out every turn, and that leads to problems. It just does. So let's just I finally got it to a point where it's presentable and where I was doing okay with it, and it's not the most powerful deck in the world, but it can be pretty fun. And interestingly, I did receive a decent amount of hate when playing this deck. I think when people see the big X's coming through, they got a little afraid of things. So let's just talk about the X spells that I did end up using. You know, there's always the Hydras, Savageborn Hydra, Apocalypse Hydra, Primordial Hydra, who just gets huge if left unmessed with, Apocalypse Hydra, who can start doing removal and stuff like that. There's also Comet Storm, which is just good at being able to take out multiple targets at once and is an instant. Worm Calling was nice because if you had nothing better to do, make another worm, and you could just keep doing it over and over again every turn. Rolling Earthquake was good at getting rid of creatures as well as hitting players. I actually had a lot more Earthquake effects in my original version of the deck, but I noticed that I ended up killing off most of my creatures all the time. And I tried to add stuff like a Chroma's Memorial to give protection from red to avoid that, but then the Memorial was always just getting blown up and it was expensive and it just didn't work out, so I took out a lot of those. Red Sun Zenith obviously is good at exiling stuff. Green Sun Zenith is good at copper tutoring. Gelatinous Genesis can make a whole bunch of big guys at once. Fanning the Flames is fun because of the buyback. Like you can hit multiple creatures or multiple people. Clan Defiance was nice again because of the multiple targeting abilities. And then Bonfire of the Damned. I never miracled into Bonfire. I always ended up drawing it like my 3rd or 4th card of the turn. So that would have been nice. But, you know, even paying the regular X version, it did alright. The double X version. On top of all these X spells, there's a bunch of cards that use X in their activated ability. There's Silklash Spider, who helps control the skies. Flame Blast Dragon, who can hit people with direct damage or nail critters if necessary. Steel Hellkite is another nice little X spell guy who can deal with bigger issues with Rosheen out there. And then I think the last one is Kessig Wolfrun, which is around here somewhere. I don't know where it is. You know, I need to find it just because. There we are. Kessig Wolfrun. So, obviously you can make your big dudes bigger. Now, there are 40 lands in the deck, and the reason for that is because I included every cycler possible. Blasted Landscape, Tranquil Thicket, Slippery Karst, all those guys. And I also included all the Onslaught and Zendikar fetch lands, Wooded Foothills, Windswept Heath, Verdant Catacombs, all that stuff. And the main reason was to include Life from the Loam. I needed extra card draw because this deck can really run out of cards quickly. This is a nice way to kind of cycle through your deck, and it helps with the Lands Matter theme. In addition to the Lands Matter theme, we also have Exploration, because there are going to be plenty of times when you have multiple cards, multiple lands in your hand that you're going to want to play. Lotus Cobra, the landfall worked out well for this guy. Horn of Greed. This is a... There were definitely times where I needed Horn of Greed, but it helped out other people so much that it's an iffy card in the deck at best. But if you do get it out with somebody like Azusa, it works out really well for you. Or Exploration, or Oracle of Moldiah, anything that allows you to play multiple lands a turn. We've also got Realms Uncharted here to pick up whatever lands we need. There's the Crucible of Worlds with our Lands Matter theme. The other Lands Matter theme is Creeping Renaissance, which is right here. There's definitely going to be times where you mill things into your graveyard using Life from the Loam, and I just wanted the ability to flash back the Renaissance to get back either all the lands that I wanted or the creatures or whatever. Avenger of Zendikar is another landfall guy who did well. Now, in addition to all that, we have additional mana help and mana reflection. I also really wanted to make sure that I enabled a turn 3 Rosheen if necessary. So on top of stuff like Soul Ring, there's Mind Stone, Explore, Farseek, Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth with that ugly art. And Gyre Sage, actually, this doesn't always ensure a turn 3 Rosheen, because it doesn't automatically tap for mana the first time you play it. But the Gyre Sage actually got really big a lot of times, and this was sort of like an unexpected and helpful little creature that, like, all of a sudden people were like, holy cow, that thing's 7/8 or something like that. So I really liked him. In addition, you can also get Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor. Ooh, techie, right? And honestly, most of the time, nobody focused on the Arbor, so it worked as either a blocker or it would just die in Wraths or something like that. But I ended up liking the Arbor a lot. Now, on top of all that, we have your removal, and I went over a bunch of the removal here. Some of the other fun removal we have... Oh, I forgot about Landfall theme. Baloth Woodcrasher. This guy could get huge. Like, there was times when he was like 16/16 or 20/20 or something like that. He got really big. And he was sort of unexpectedly good, too. So I liked him a lot. Let's talk about the card draw in the deck. We have Kozilek. Kozilek's good because I've been running into a lot of mill recently, and you can always dump him in order to get your graveyard back in your library or whatever. Plus he draws cards. That's good. Other card draw includes Histrodon. I was so desperate for card draw, I added Histrodon because I just felt like I needed more. Mind's Eye. Greater Good, which was awesome. You could draw a ton of cards off this guy. Momentous Fall, Harmonize, and Hunter's Insight. All these are good card draw cards on top of Horn of Greed. Now, I think I mentioned earlier that I did find that I was getting targeted a lot, and what I really needed was some form of life gain. So I included Basilisk Caller, who works well with stuff like Flame Blast Dragon and Silklash Spider. And because of that, I also included Inferno Titan in the deck, because he works well with Basilisk Caller. I also added Loxodon Warhammer, because again, you can have some really big dudes. And Momentous Fall helps with the life gain as well. Now, the deck does have a decent amount of destruction. There's Duplicant and Steel Hellkite and all these guys over here, and Flame Blast Dragon and Inferno Titan. Acidic Slime. There he is. Oh yeah, Garrick's another card draw card. What else do we have here? We've got Oblivion Stone, because sometimes you just need to wipe the board. There's Wheel of Fortune, another card draw card. Beast Within is destruction. And then Hull Breach is another destruction card. There was also times where I had like big dudes and I wanted to attack with them quickly. I couldn't find room in the deck for like Urabrask, or even Anger, but I did put Hall of the Bandit Lord in here. You know, because sometimes you just need to get a hasty Primordial Hydra out there or something like that. What other things do we have going on with the deck? Sylvan Library is a little bit of draw if really necessary, but it helps thin out the top of your deck. Or not thin it out, but, you know, mess around. Chaos Warp is another bit of removal and tucking. The Flute here was actually really good at searching up what I wanted it to. Like, I could play it and tap it for 0 mana and get a Dryad Arbor. I could tap it for 2 mana and get any of my Hydras. And then it goes up exponentially, as we see there. Genesis is a nice little bit of recursion and works well with Life from the Loam. And that's really about it. You know, the deck... Oh, Vigor. Vigor's good because it helps when Rolling Earthquake hurts your guys. And it just helps your guys in general. Makes like your Savage-born Hydra bigger when necessary. There's only 22 creatures in the deck, and that includes the Dryad Arbor. But you know, the reason it's so low is because there are a bunch of X spells that do various things. And, you know, Worm Calling actually counts as a creature, so you should be fine with that. The deck plays more like a control deck. You know, there's times where I, like, really wanted Rosheen out fast, and there was other times where it didn't matter to me when I got it out there. But a lot of times it is kind of a controlling deck. You're messing around with, you know, your fetch lands and your cycling stuff with Forgotten Cave or whatever, and then you've got Azusa running out there, Horn of Greed, that kind of thing. I noticed that Fanning the Flames was a nice good game ender, and Red Sun Zenith was a nice good game ender, because a lot of times you can make a ton of mana with the deck. So there we go. There were a couple of cards that didn't quite make the cut. One of them was Magus of the Candelabra. This Magus helped convert Rosheen's X mana into regular mana, and I just he was one of the last cuts that I had to make, but I had to make it. It's that simple. In all honesty, the deck could probably use a couple more lands, like 2 more lands, or mountains or forests, because I did have games where I ended up sucking out all my basic lands out of the deck. But I just couldn't find the room, honestly. Let's think. There was another X spell. There's all the Earthquake type spells and Hurricane type stuff that ended up not really making the cut. So that's the deck. It's a controlling deck. You know, I considered adding Gamble just so that I could have ways to tutor up like Basilisk Caller and stuff, but I didn't do that. It's a fun deck. It's a little frustrating sometimes because, like I said, you know, you're like, okay, all I need is like one big X spell and I can win the game, and you don't always draw into it. If there was another creature that drew cards better than Soul of the Harvest, because again, the creature component to this deck is pretty low. I would replace Histrodon with it. Not 100% sure what it would be though. But Garrick worked out all right too. So, anyways, that's the deck. I've only got 2 videos this time, and I apologize. I've been getting my ass kicked at work, and I think I might have to take like another week or so off from doing videos, but hopefully I'll be able to get back on soon. Alright? Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.